This is the Surly Grognards for July 8th, 2013. This is Peter Bowman, and I'm joined by as usual, by my good friend and co-host, Eric Carlson. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm doing all right.
Yep.
Things exist.
Yes. And, I'm still getting over our music discussion there right before we started the recording. As always, there's a lot of stuff Eric and I overlap on in terms of what we like, but there's stuff that I love that Eric hates. And
really just
woo! But we're not talking about music tonight in particular, although we may come back to the topic of that at some point. Because
we might. It seems to be in the zeitgeist tonight.
Yeah. But anyways, primarily what we're going to talk about tonight is we're just going to talk about some of the things we're currently reading and watching, and discuss a little bit sort of if there's any things we're drawing from that and adding into gaming and such, or things that we might think would be cool to pull out of gaming and such. As always, fiction is a great place to mine for ideas. We've said this multiple times in the show before. So as always, I figured we'd talk a little bit about what we've been indulging in terms of fiction and such, be it TV, movies, books, what have you, and talk a little bit about maybe ideas we could draw from it and such. But honestly, mostly just sort of a way to just talk about things we're enjoying right now because we like doing that.
Because we're nerds.
Yeah.
And we're lazy. Didn't come up with a better subject.
Well, honestly,
we came up with a couple, but they require actual research. And
yeah.
Like I said, we're lazy.
It's not just the laziness thing. Honestly, I think it's actually helpful to do something like this every now and then also.
Absolutely.
So I'll start things off, honestly. I mean, a bunch of what I've been watching recently I've been watching a lot of QI, so that doesn't really help. Other than give me bunches of wonderful trivia that I can draw out and pull out of my ass at times.
Useless trivia.
And some wonderful jokes here and there. But I also have been rewatching. What's the name of the anime? Crap. Been rewatching some older animes that I've not watched in a long time. After a little brief discussion I had with somebody about it, I've been rewatching Outlaw Star.
Outlaw Star is one of those anime that just makes me happy.
Yeah. Also, it's surprisingly influential. It was definitely a big influence on Firefly.
Absolutely. Right down to the girl in the box.
Yeah. Well, Joss Whedon has said that was where he got the idea for how to introduce River. In
fact, I remember I was at Dragon Con, actually, and they showed the sort of preview trailer for Firefly. My first thought was, a live-action Outlaw Star?
And there are elements of that in it.
Yeah.
It honestly, I mean, there's Outlaw Star is actually a fertile ground for drawing ideas for gaming from, in all honesty.
Yes.
If just for, nuggets of character concepts, because all the main cast are all wonderful characters. That you can draw some really cool ideas from, and they honestly, they operate a lot like a lot of classical sort of role playing game parties.
They really do. Honestly, Outlaw Star reminds me of a lot of the science fiction RPGs I've played in, because we always sort of fall into that sort of lovable scumbags lurching our way through the cosmos.
Because you got Gene is the brash hotshot sort of
he's the face man.
He's the face man in a lot of ways. You've got and you've got what's his name?
He's kind of overconfident, and you've got Jim.
Jim, that's it. Yeah, Jim, who's the ship's engineer and
the smart one.
The smart one. He's the smart one. He also does a lot of face stuff. He does a lot of negotiations and such. Melfina is she's sort of not really a player character, really, but
she's a plot device.
Yeah, but
she's a plot device and part of the ship. The ship, however, could be a player character.
And I've had a campaign where the idea of basically the ship being a player character with a AI drone a drone that could follow them around so you could actually interact off the ship was in one of the campaigns I ran. My friend Joey played the ship, and that was a lot of fun. But then you've got both Aisha Clan and Twilight Suzuka are both,
They're the heavies.
They're the heavies. And, yeah. Both immense badasses and very...
Yes. And entirely different ways.
Yes. Actually, that's the really interesting thing is, As much as it's really interesting as much as I generally prefer the dub of that show. There's one character in which I actually felt was massively improved in the dub, which was Aisha Clan Clan. I thought that the dub, the woman who did the dubbing, the voice actress, the dubbing, and the voice acting for the dubbing, I just found her voice, the way she did it was a little bit less irritating.
Aisha's voice actor in the dub is a little special.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the dub. I actually think was an improvement because it was less. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was less high pitched and manic than the original in Japanese, in my opinion.
Sorry, I usually don't not the dub, the
original,
the sub.
Yeah,
because I honestly, a lot of anime from that era, I don't bother with the subtitles for. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a mix for me. There are some that I do. Actually, honestly, for most of them, I actually prefer the subtitling because a lot of dubbing from the early '90s is really bad.
Yes. There's something kind of, I don't know, nostalgic about that for me.
Yeah, it mostly just causes me pain. Like I honestly, as much as there are some actually good voice actors in the dubbed version of Slayers.
I will admit, Slayers is the one that I vastly prefer the sub to.
Yeah, it improves later on when they switch voice actors for Zelgadis.
Yes.
They actually
he was terrible.
They got Crispin Freeman for him eventually, who's actually good. But he still wasn't even. The problem is he was just the guy who actually did Zelgadis in the original was so much better.
Yes.
He was just. I mean, and it's not a knock on Freeman. It's just that it was just so perfect for the character. But at any rate, the structure and as I said, the way the characters and Outlaw start interaction, the actual structure of the show, honestly, is really really would be a well structured RPG campaign because it's as long as it's got an overarching plot, but it's still episodic. All the characters get their moments in the sun. There are strong antagonists.
Just briefly on the antagonist, I really like the techno-mysticism of the pirates in that.
Yes.
That I thought was great, and I'd love to play a character like that that's not Dr. Arcane. Not at all where I got some of the ideas, but...
Yep, and I adore that. That's one of the reasons I adore the show. That's why one of the reasons I've been rewatching it. Also, it's just a lot of fun.
Yes, it is a very fun game or show. Yeah, Outlaw Star. Damn.
Yeah. So, anything you've been watching of note that you want to mention first?
I have fallen completely in love with Attack on Titan.
Yep.
Which you guys shouldn't become a surprise to you guys. It's got giant Fomori rampaging around eating Spider-Man proxies. I mean, come on. More to that though, the world is really kind of interesting. You've got the technology seems to be analogous to like mid-19th century, but vaguely steampunkified, mostly in the maneuver gear that the people wear when fighting the Tidal Titans, which basically lets them swing around like friggin' Spider-Man. And they explain why you need the friggin' maneuver gear, because cannons don't work on the Titans. They just regenerate. Yep. More to that, the Titans themselves are just wonderfully creepy in the way that they're portrayed. They put some sort of filter over their skins. They sort of like look mottled and pallid, while at the same time being kind of tanned, which I really like. Their face is always drawn much more realistically than typical for an anime,
right,
which gives them a great sort of sense of other, while at the same time being able to identify it. And they always have these vacuous, weird expressions that don't change for whatever reason. I mean, just the aesthetic of the show blows me away. The characters are all really well done. My one complaint is that it falls into sort of the shonen style pacing.
Well, it's based on a shonen manga, so that's not a surprise.
Which isn't a surprise, and I can forgive because of everything else that's great with this show.
Yeah, I mean, it's specifically a shonen action adventure manga. I mean, that shonen is a demographic, not an actual genre. Oh, it is. It's it's shonen means it's targeted for boys between 12 and 18.
Yes.
It's an aimed targeted demographic, and there are a bunch. They're shown in sports manga. They're shown in action adventure. They're shown in comedy. They're shown
They
in.
follow the same pacing structure.
Not all of them, but the action adventure ones mostly do. I agree.
Yeah, and it's one I find mildly irritating.
I could see that.
Mostly because this thing is going to happen in 30 seconds. We really got to take care of this thing. Now let's spend 15 minutes talking about it before we do anything to solve this thing that needs to happen in 15 seconds.
Right. That actually I think is largely due to the fact that you're talking about from the anime. You were talking about it from the anime standpoint. That's less of a problem when it's actually in manga format, where because it's a comic book.
Exactly.
And it's it's a weekly serial comic book. So these
and all of that stuff, it can particularly internal monologue, you can buy happening in a split second.
Right.
When you're reading it, but when you actually have to sit down and say the words, it's just cutting the internal monologue would help so much for pacing.
I could see that. It doesn't bother me, but it doesn't bother me as much, I should say. There are times it bothers me. There are shonen and they're shonen adventures shows like the shonen battle manga for lack of a better term, which is basically sort of which Attack on Titan sort of falls into, along with like One Piece and Bleach and Dragon Ball and.
Now, amusingly, I don't really read manga, but I watch a lot of anime, particularly shonen anime.
I only recently started getting into manga, and honestly, the reason I got into manga was from I was watching Bleach, and I knew the manga story was much further ahead of where Bleach was, and I was like, you know what? And Bleach was, and what happened was Bleach was okay. It was during some part during the Rancor arc. And they hit a point where they were basically like, okay, we gotta wait for the manga to catch up, so we're gonna do filler episodes. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't care about these, because I don't mind with Bleach. I've always enjoyed the filler seasons for the most part, but the mid-season episodes that are just fillers, where they didn't have like an entire season dedicated to one plot line, like an actual plot, those didn't work as well. And I was like, I'm just tired of the filler. I want to know what happens next. So I went and checked out the manga, and I was like, oh, okay, this is. And so I started reading it just to get caught up on it, and
I honestly ended up when watching Bleach just skipping some of the filler arcs, because I was like, I cannot believe that you're taking time to deal with your rebelling swords when you've got Aizen about to explode the fucking planet.
Yeah, well, see that arc is actually a really good arc. It's just not in continuity. It doesn't happen in continuity with what's going on with Aizen.
Right, and I was just not in the mood to deal with an arc when shit's happening with Aizen.
I can understand that. I actually enjoyed I actually enjoyed that one. That was not the best of the filler arcs. The best of their filler arcs was probably the one with the escaped noble girl, which was actually really good.
The escaped what?
The girl noble from the spirit world.
Oh, her. Yeah, I remember that.
That was actually a really good arc.
You know what I remember most about that arc?
What?
Is the bit where one of her bodyguards finally releases his sword, and everything gets covered with flowers, and the guys are like, seriously, that's your special power? Can you do something, cool? And then the female characters jump in and go, it's cool.
Well, also it was an enjoyable arc in my opinion. And there's some good stuff in it. It was another one of those. I liked the fact that the main bad guy had the ability to his big thing was he could suppress the main opponent and could suppress Shinigami powers, which meant that of course Ichigo was the only person who could other than like Ishida, but yeah, who cares about Uryu? But like of all the actual people with Shinigami powers, Ichigo's basically the only person who could handle it. It's like, oh, Ichigo's here, and well, okay, I've shut down your Shinigami powers. What are you gonna do? I'm half hollow. Well, fuck.
Theoretically, it shouldn't have worked on any of Ichigo's little posse there, except for Rukia.
Yeah, well,
because
what's Chad gonna do?
Chad's gonna punch it to death because that's what Chad does. Except when Kubo decides that Chad doesn't exist, which is most of the time.
To be fair, the guy that was in question was basically a captain level Shinigami. So,
all right.
And Chad has never done well against people that powerful. Well, that's entire. He has, but basically, Chad is for a long time he was sort of the Worf of the show.
He really, yeah, he was TNG Worf. That's pretty much what he was until they forgot he existed.
Yeah, but at any rate,
just because I liked him.
Yeah, but I actually have been reading. Everyone who likes Bleach ends up liking Chad. Yeah, he's a great character. It's just that Kubo just
has no idea what to do with him
after a certain point now. At any rate, but yeah, I've been reading the manga on Attack on Titan, and it's excellent. I've not watched the anime yet. I probably will at some point, but
also one other thing, the big skinless Titan is now named the Flayed Titan, not the Colossal Titan. Because the Colossal Titan is dumb. That is a dumb name. We're calling it the Flayed Titan because he is.
Well, he's also colossal, but he also is colossal. But hey,
he's also flayed, and that's much cooler.
At any rate, so anything in particular you want that you sort of gaming wise you draw out of it?
Largely the tone in the world, like the tone is very much it's kind of bleak, which I like, and can lend to some great. Can lend to good role playing when done properly. It's hard to do bleak properly, though.
Yes, I agree with that. The
world is really interesting. Just the idea of humanity being locked into the city consisting of concentric circles because something bad is out there, and we have technology of roughly 1850s equivalent. Go out on an adventure.
Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic world. And despite the fact that humanity is...
I explain more about the premise of this strat.
But humanity is fairly doomed, but they still manage to keep some semblance of hope, which is one of those really tricky balances to get.
Yes.
Because if it's completely hopeless,
never feels hopeless, but you're always reminded of the cost.
Right. Because I find that if things get because there have been plenty of things that sort of do something similar, which are not like similar, but sort of forget that you have to have some element of hope, and I quickly lose interest in that because it's like, yeah, they're doomed. Okay, I mean, I could stick and watch how they're going to all die, but they're all going to die, and I don't care anymore.
I can get behind that as long as it's as their doom is appropriately heroic, because I'm a sucker for doomed heroism.
I can buy into that. It's just that there's a certain point where if it's obvious that there's no possible way they can the people you are rooting for can win, it's sort of like doomed heroism. There has to be at least some semblance of reason to fight on beyond that. It's like, well, what else can we do? It's like I quickly lose interest if there's like
I can understand that, but it's more like, well, we're going to lose, but if we don't fight, then they win. So fuck those guys.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's just I lose. That can't sustain me for very long, is what I'm saying. Like I can hang with that for a few episodes, like an episode or like maybe 3 or 4 episodes, but for like an entire series, I just no.
Fair enough.
It's like if you have an entire series and like towards the end that happens, I'm okay with that, as long as it flows properly.
Yeah, and things have to flow properly.
Well, yeah, there are times,
and like I said, particularly when you're playing in a game, you need to have the feeling that you're making a difference.
I agree with. I completely agree with that, or at least that you're having some impact some way.
Yes.
Otherwise, kind of, what's the point?
Exactly. Like, you're playing a game. You're not reenacting Greek tragedy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Honestly,
that's fun to do every once in a while for like 3 sessions, but then, yeah, you're exactly right in that case.
It's like, again, for a short thing, that's fine. like play for the Greek tragedies and like Shakespeare's tragedies. They're all fantastic, and that whatever up to 2 hour nugget. It's great.
Oh yeah.
After certain points,
Fucking
they're like
Macbeth, man. Fucking Macbeth.
one of the best plays ever written, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Like, doom heroism up the wazoo. Like, yeah, that's great.
It's fantastic. That one's great. I mean, most of Shakespeare's tragedies are really good.
Yes. Titus Andronicus gets a little weird.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one.
But the constant casual rape. But yeah.
But yeah, oh God, I'm blanking on the name of it for some reason. Why am I forgetting the name of this?
I don't know, but I will say that Titus Andronicus is worth it just for the ending.
Yeah, I'm not. Again, that's probably my least favorite of his tragedies.
Well, it's also one of his early ones where he's sort of like, how do we end this? Just fucking kill everyone. The end.
Yeah. Othello's another one of my favorites. Thanks, Nokai in the chat. Absolutely, Othello's amazing. Julius Caesar is also very good. Hamlet's fantastic if overrated.
Hamlet's fantastic.
If slightly overrated. This is not to say, again, this is one of my points that when I say overrated, I don't mean bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as good as people as the dynamic flowing praise it gets. And it deserves.
Hamlet is made better by the existence of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
I can accept that. Hamlet is, by the way, Hamlet is deserving about 95% of the praise it gets. It really is that good. But there's that extra 5% that makes you sort of go, oh God, really? Romeo and Juliet is another one I think is overrated, actually.
I will agree with you there. Romeo and Juliet is... I like it. It's a great play, but when it boils down to, it's a couple of emo kids killing themselves.
Yeah. There's some great bits to it, but yeah, it can't hang with Macbeth or Othello or Julius Caesar or
Macbeth. Macbeth is probably my favorite Shakespearean play.
I can see that. And Richard III is a great play. Most of the historicals are really good too. Oh God, I will say this: Macbeth is really good. It's not my favorite play of Shakespeare's. That is definitive. My favorite is definitely The Tempest.
The Tempest is pretty damn good, actually.
Yeah. That's because Prospero is a fucking amazing character.
Yeah. And I really like Midsummer Night's Dream because, as we were discussing earlier, I've got a hard-on for the Fae.
I can't blame you. It's one of his best comedies. As is As You Like It and Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah. Taming of the Shrew is another really good one.
It's excellent.
Which is friggin' hilarious.
Yeah. It really is. But yeah, the thing about The Tempest is it has quite possibly the single best adaptation into film of any of Shakespeare's plays, in my opinion.
I don't think I've seen the film that you're talking about.
You haven't seen The Forbidden Planet?
Oh!
That
is The Tempest, isn't it?
It is. It's
Holy
The Tempest.
Shit. I never made that connection. Oh, wow. Okay.
Rewatch it sometime and think about it. You're like, holy crap, that's The Tempest.
Yeah, it's like, oh, brother, where art thou? Is a friggin' Odyssey.
Yep,
okay.
it is. It's
another, obvious friggin' connection that I didn't make till someone pointed it out.
I think I was probably the one who pointed that out. I think I pointed that one out to you, too, actually. And really,
it's like, of course, the demon got a friggin' Cyclops!
It does! It's got the sirens.
That's the being turned into animals? Or at least they think so?
It's the Odyssey.
It's completely the Odyssey. It even has them being swept away by the sea.
It does, doesn't it? That's a movie that blows my mind that doesn't get as much respect as I think it deserves.
It's a great friggin' movie, and I love the soundtrack in relation to the movie. But it's one of those soundtracks that, like I said, I love in relation to the movie, but I can't listen to it on its own.
Well, I can't imagine. And that might sort of tie back into a little discussion about
how much I hate American folk music. Yes.
Yes. Whereas there's a lot of it I adore. There is a lot of it that I think is painfully pretentious.
Yeah.
But the best of it is really good.
I will say Big Rock Candy Mountain is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's like the that's like the exception that proves the rule.
All right. Clark one in the chat says, "You got it latest. This is the literature episode. Kind of. We're talking about what we're sort of reading and what we're watching and such, which means we've sort of gotten into talking about literature to a degree."
Yeah. It started out talking about anime, actually.
Somehow we got into. How do we get from anime to Shakespeare?
I don't know.
Oh, right. We were talking. We went through Doomed Heroes into tragedy to Shakespeare.
Right. Because I was talking about Attack on Titan, which is my new freaking obsession.
Yes. And it's, as I've said, it's an excellent manga.
And it's a great series.
I do intend to check out the anime at some point, but I want to let them get a few more episodes before I do.
I've seen a couple pages of it, like just posted random places online, and I like the sketchy feel of the art style.
Yeah, I really
which is something that turns me off from a lot of manga. Is it just feels, I don't know, it feels too clean in certain ways, but
I
not
could see
clean
that
enough in others.
Yeah, I could see that. I could really see that. I'm not much of an artist, so as you know, so that bothers me less, I think.
Yes, but
I could see why that might. As I said, that there are many manga I would recommend that that you read, Eric, at some point.
I will probably do so. Part of it is I also just dislike reading on screen. I'm not going to go down to the comic shop and spend money on.
Oh yeah. I agree. I understand that completely. But yeah, like I'll list a few of them off right now. The things that I read regularly. I mean, I read the One Piece manga regularly. Although my opinion, it's slacked off a bit after the time skip. It was one of the better time skips I've come across in any manga, but I don't think it's quite as much fun as it was before it, and I don't like the changes, some of the changes in character design that they did. They're not bad. It's just I prefer the older character designs. Preference thing, really. But I still read One Piece, and it's a lot of fun. And One Piece does the thing which I find endlessly fascinating in. I find endless. The thing I find about endlessly fascinating about it is they managed to, at least in the manga at a minimum, and in the anime too, in the original Japanese and in the later dubs. Not the original 4Kids dub, which is apocalyptically bad.
That was my first exposure to One Piece, and I still can't get past it.
It took me years to get past it. Literally,
it was
years.
I actually really enjoyed the art style. Like it was something that I hadn't seen come out of Japan, at least not animated for in ages, and I thought that was kind of cool. But fuck you, 4Kids.
You might enjoy the manga, although it's very long. But that means you've got a lot of stuff to go through. It's an opportunity to have just something to just read casually and for a long time, and know there's more stuff ahead that if you do enjoy it. It's rare in that it combines the ability to combines comedy and actual drama and plot better than most that I've seen in anything I've seen in a long time. It's very hard to combine to actually combine actual like good funny comedy with the ability to actually take things seriously and have an epic plot.
I found that at least in the West, Joss Whedon does a pretty good job juggling that.
Yeah, he does. Whedon does that fairly well. I find that that happens very rarely in the West. A lot of Western movies. There are a lot of it's actually fairly common in a lot of Hong Kong movies. Which is one of the reasons
Farscape did it really well also.
Farscape did it well, but it was leaned much more heavily towards the comedy.
In some cases, yeah.
But I will say this:
she gives me a Woody. A what? A Woody. She makes me uneasy. The phrase is willies.
But yeah, the manga I really enjoyed. In a lot of ways, the main character Luffy is sort of, in many ways, the classic shonen battle manga protagonist. except that because he's not that smart, and he's stubborn, and is supportive of his friends, and friendship is big to him, and loyalty is big to him. He eats a ton, and is a little bit wacky. But the interesting thing about him is he has these moments. He has a lot of moments where he all of a sudden turns deadly serious, and it's at the first couple. It's sort of a weird sort of shift at first, but then you start realizing exactly how it works into the rest of his personality, and it all of a sudden makes sense. And it rapidly turns into Luffy gets serious, shit's about to get real. And there are certain things
Zelos has opened his eyes, shit's going down. Actually, and there's certain buttons that if you push with Luffy, he gets angry, and that's really bad for you. But the thing I like about him actually is that while early on it seems like he's ridiculously overpowered, the thing I like about it is that his powers are not because there are a bunch of people who have devil fruit powers. The powers come from the same origin as he does, and his are not among the most powerful out there. He's just among the most creative with the powers he has. Remember the clown that would dismember himself?
Yeah, he's actually got one of the most powerful abilities out there. He's just not very smart. That's actually a point that I think it's Oda that the author that the mangaka makes, is that Buggy should be more powerful than he is, but he doesn't actually try. Because he's not very smart, and he's lazy and doesn't take things seriously, and is a bit of a coward. But he's bordering on impossible. Don't get me wrong, Buggy's a great character, but he's not, and he got a much higher rank later on in the show than people would sort of assume he deserves. But he's bordering on unbeatable in a sword fight, because he can separate his body wherever he wants to. So, but it comes down to an actual sword fight. He's bordering on unbeatable, which is actually terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to kill a guy that dismembers himself for fun?
He hasn't yet, but no, he hasn't been. I mean, obviously he's not died yet, because almost nobody dies in One Piece. It happens. People do die in One Piece, but it's uncommon. But yes, One Piece is great. Another one I would really recommend if you haven't read, for anybody who hasn't read it, is Liar Game. It's one of my possibly my favorite manga series. It's basically Dan in the chat mentions Attack on Titan. We were talking about that earlier.
We were just talking about that and how much I fucking love that show.
And I do like the manga a lot. But Liar Game is basically about it's about this young girl who gets roped into this contest basically trying to acquire money in devious ways. And if you lose, you basically are in immense debt and are screwed forever. And she eventually ropes in the help of this con artist, who basically just gotten out of jail, and basically he's sort of the classic con artist with a heart of gold type. And so the two of them he basically eventually agrees to help her out. And he basically eventually decides to take down the organization that's running the Liar Game, because he decides that these people really just have to go. And it's a really, really cool series. And the thing about it is, he is brilliant. The main character is he's the classic sort of manipulative chess master, but he's the hero, which is rare and very hard to pull off.
But when it's done really well.
Yeah.
I looked at Doctor Who. I can't remember what number he is.
7.
He had Ace for the Companion.
7.
Thank you.
Sylvester McCoy, yes. Given how much you I know you like Sylvester McCoy's Doctor. I think you'd actually enjoy the Liar Game.
All right, I'll give that a shot. It doesn't have an animated.
There's a live action version that I've not watched.
Okay.
but there's, as far as I know, there's no anime of it yet. The problem is, I'm not sure how well it would actually animate, because there's not a lot of actual action in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, eventually, as Treglin in the chat points out, later on, eventually it gets to this one game where the group breaks into 3 teams, effectively, each one led by one of the 3 top chess masters in the thing. So you've got the main character, the one of the 2 main characters. There's Now, who's the main female lead, and the other lead is, I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Why can't I remember his name? Crap. Let me look.
Team Good Guy.
But well, yeah. And so they're one team, and there are 2 other chess masters who are both brilliant, and one of them is basically flat out evil, and the other basically leads a cult.
So the not evil one runs a cult. Awesome.
He seems evil at first. He's less evil as you find out a little bit less about him later.
Oh, so he's an actual believer. That's even better.
Yeah, he is. That's the thing. He is.
That's even scarier.
Yes, and he is fucking brilliant. He's a great character, although he's not. You find out some really interesting things about him. And Treglin's also right. There's a great transsexual character in it also, who was fantastic. Who's another borderline chess master, and she's fantastic. I cannot recommend Liar Game enough. It's really, really good. And though there hasn't been a new chapter on that in months, because the author basically takes long hiatuses so that she can do research. I think it's a she can do research on what the actual sort of quote game that they're going to be doing in the next arc is going to be, so she can actually present it in a logical and logical fashion that can be followed and explained and be believable. So there's reasons that she takes these like
that actually is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so they take like 3 to 4 month hiatuses to do that. So it's frustrating because like literally there hasn't been a new chapter since like April. It's like, want more Liar Game. But it's really good. There's a lot of good manga out there. I do recommend checking some stuff out. There's the classic big 3, of which I only can recommend one of them, which is One Piece. I cannot recommend Naruto or Bleach anymore.
I can't deal with Naruto. Part of it is the
apocalypse.
Part of it is its fan base, which
fair enough.
Which are kind of like the anime equivalent of bronies. Now, I understand you love the show, great, and this goes for both fan bases. I understand you love the show, great. I can even see why you like the show, but don't keep shoving it down my fucking throat. I end up with a really bad association that neither Naruto nor My Little Pony deserves.
Yep. Honestly, early Naruto is actually quite good. Unfortunately, it has one of the most unlikable characters I've ever seen, who is one of the main characters in Sasuke. God, I hate that fucking character.
Right?
What?
He's the mopey one, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the dangerous and brooding one.
That is, yeah. He becomes the main villain for a long while.
That's actually kind of cool.
No, it really isn't. No, you'd think it would be cool, but it's not.
Done that poorly, huh?
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, also, he's a good guy again now.
Okay. So
he's
what,
done.
Did they just friggin' Emperor Palpatine him? Come to the dark side? No, we have cookies. Okay. He's decided to switch sides again, and it's like, okay, I can. It's bad writing that he decided to switch sides again, so come back to help out the good guys again. The fact that the good guys actually accepted him back is what is basically like, yeah, fuck you. No, you tried to kill us several times.
Not just tried to kill some people. He is actively evil and horrible. It's just painful. Yeah. Dan, our friend Dan in the chat, it says, think of it like pro wrestling. It's like pro wrestling. It's like a heel face turn done badly.
Gotcha.
Blech. But yeah, I can't recommend that. I can't recommend Bleach anymore. I again, early Bleach was fantastic. Not so much anymore.
Yeah, hearing you, Nick, go off about Bleach has really kind of turned me off of ever actually reading it. I'll just be happy with the anime. Thank you.
But yeah, but I can still recommend One Piece, and the other ones I still read. I still read Bleach just because it's sort of a train wreck thing at this point.
You just can't look away. No, I understand.
Yeah.
I was like that with Star Trek Voyager for a long time.
And I mentioned Liar Game. Gamblefish is hilarious but stupid. It's sort of a similar. It has sort of similar themes to Liar Game, but it is way more over the top and silly. Liar Game is better. Gamblefish is fucking hilarious at times though, and is wildly over the top. So I'm not sure I actually recommend it, but it's got its moments. Yes, exactly. Zodiac is right. That happens.
I cut my finger to win at poker
no,
with a chainsaw.
No, not cut my finger. Cut off my finger.
I'm not sure how that works, but I support your idea.
Okay, I can explain it very quickly and very simply. It's a challenge between him and a magician.
Okay.
And he is trying to basically work out how she is because she's stacking the deck and doing that, and that's part of the point. Is that gotcha. He has to beat her despite that.
Okay, I gotcha.
So what he does is he cuts off his finger and handles the deck, which marks it.
Ah, because he's bleeding all over the bloody thing.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to cut off the whole finger to do that. You could have just torn a cuticle. Although, I will say, kudos to your dedication to the bit.
That would not be over the top enough for Gamblefish, Eric. Gamblefish is special. It's hilarious. I think you actually might enjoy it.
Just because of how over the top and bizarre it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he did that too. Yeah.
Back to the actual subject at hand.
Yeah. Other stuff that we're reading and watching right now. Anything else you're reading and watching?
I've been rewatching DS9 because it's probably my favorite Star Trek, and I love that show something good. I really like the fact that it has an overarching plot, but it's not afraid to take breather episodes effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Despite having Worf, it doesn't have a Worf character. Worf is actually treated with respect and gets to be a badass in DS9. He gets to do stuff and not get told, no, your idea is stupid, and punched in the head every episode.
Right.
Which was kind of a problem for a long time in TNG, was that Worf was, you need to show something scary, have it beat up the Klingon. We need to come up with ideas. We need a violent solution that we can reject because we're the good guys. Have Worf give it.
Right.
But it's sort of similar to Outlaw Star in that everyone gets a chance to shine.
Right.
Everything works well. Everything just sort of meshes together fairly well. I like that a lot of the tertiary and ancillary characters get to be important and actually move up to primary cast, like Garrick, for example. He was really just sort of this little side character they had over here for a long time, and he basically, by the end of the series, is a full-blooded party member for all intents and purposes. Cardassian and party member. I made a joke. And I really like the characterization of the villains. Ducat early on is friggin' brilliant. He kind of loses the rails once he starts the cult. Spoilers, Ducat starts a cult. Damar in particular is great. Damar is very much the tragic patriot. I really, really like Damar. Who after Ducat loses his position with the Dominion, becomes leader of Cardassia, and he's very much a good guy on the wrong side and knows it. And I really like that.
Cool.
And yeah, I really like that show. I even like Esri.
Wow.
Oh, she's so cute.
Let's see. I actually just finished reading all 4 books that are out for the Old Man's War series.
I've read the first one. I haven't gotten around to tracking down the others.
They're definitely worth reading.
Awesome. I really liked Old Man's War. Old Man's War was pretty damn impressive, honestly.
Honestly, the thing about Old Man's War and the one after that, which is named escaping me at the moment.
It's not like Ghost Legion or something.
Yeah, it's Ghost Legion, something like that. It's those two are basically setting up the universe.
Okay.
The third book, the third and fourth books are basically where the meat of the story that I think he wanted to tell are.
Okay.
The third, the thing about it is Gross Brigades. Thank you, Clark, one in the chat.
That's it.
The Last Colony and Zoe's story are the same actual story told from 2 different points of view.
I can dig that.
Which is actually really cool. I really
Old Man's War is another one of those books that does the whole you were fighting and dying and there is no end in sight, but you are in fact making a difference.
Yes.
And that's, again, the whole doomed heroism thing. I love it.
Yeah, you will enjoy the other books in the series.
Cool. I really like the concept of the Ghost Brigades also.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give anything away because you guys should all be reading these books. But...
Yes, John Scalzi, check them out. I also I've recently just reread all the way through the archives of Order of the Stick.
I still have to sit down and fucking do that.
Oh, you really should, dude.
It's one of those things I'm like, Order of the Stick, yeah, that sounds freaking awesome. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read it right after I do this thing, and then I forget. Like a goddamn goldfish.
Oh, God. I have to say, I think Order of the Stick might be the single best gaming comic I've come across. Because they don't... it's not just about the actual, game gags. It starts out that way, but it quickly changes into something much more than that, and having an actual plot. And he does that thing which I talked about earlier, where he managed to blend both comedy and actual drama and plot remarkably well with character development. Like, actual character development.
That's pretty cool, actually.
And bad things happen to our heroes. I'm not going to spoil anything, but something happened fairly recently that was pretty fucking big and bad that happened to one of our heroes. Not going to spoil it.
They're eaten by direwolves.
Not going to spoil anything.
Which is entirely possible now that I think about it. What else have I been reading and watching? I actually recently watched a video review of Madoka Magica that made me remember how much I fucking love that series. Like, seriously, I think that might be, up there in, my top 5 anime, period. Madoka Magica is freaking amazing.
I can believe that.
Yeah, yes, that it was actually SF Debris.
I've heard good things about it. I've not watched it myself. I've not watched all of it myself. I've seen bits of it. It looks very good, and I intend to watch. It's one of the ones I intend to watch all of at some point.
All of Madoka Magica, or
all of it? No, Madoka Magica. Madoka Magica.
You absolutely need to see the whole thing.
I know I do.
Doesn't come together until the last 3 episodes.
That's what I've heard.
Right up to that point where everything gets tied together in the last 3 episodes. It's just like, fuck! Bunny Cat's a dick!
Oh, yeah, well, I know that, but... yeah, I do recommend that. If you...
Tregan, yeah, I have to agree with you there, man. Or Tregelin, yeah. Homer's a fucking hero.
Cool.
In every sense of the word.
I would also recommend... I've not been watching it recently, but I do want to... I haven't mentioned it in a while, but... I don't know if you've seen it, Eric. I think you'd absolutely love it, but if you have not seen the anime series Irresponsible Captain Tyler, I really recommend it.
You know what? The other day I actually went and tracked it down, and I found what I thought I found it on YouTube of all places. So like, holy crap! And I click on the link, I get 30 seconds of the episode, and then that's when YouTube decides to pull it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like, serious, like 30 seconds. All right, halfway through the opening, and this this video has been pulled by blah 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 blah. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that sucks.
I don't think I've ever caught that before.
Wow, that happened mid right. That's awful.
Yes,
but yeah,
I didn't know that could happen.
I didn't either. In all honesty, that's honestly kind of awesome in a really awful sort of way. Wow. But yeah, if for anyone who has not seen Irresponsible Captain Tyler, it is hilarious and epic. You'll notice a running theme on some of most of my favorite animes and mangas. They do this really good job at combining an actual story, character development, and epic plot with comedy. Coincidentally, one of my other favorite anime series of all time is The Slayers,
which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Which does all that again. Although it is...
The Slayers is pretty freaking brilliant.
It is.
Koala.
Let me think. But Tyler is... I have to rewatch it before I can actually say... I need to rewatch it at some point. Ooh.
Zenith, you are a scholar and a gentleman.
Yes. But yeah, I think I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I've been reading or watching recently of note? I've been watching, as I said, I recently, a few weeks ago, finished watching the new Mad Men.
Mad Men's one of those shows that I completely understand why everyone loves it, because it's incredibly well written, well acted, and everything. And I just can't get past the fact that I'm watching a bunch of guys in the '60s be dicks.
Yeah.
And they're not being funny about it. They're not fighting monsters when they're doing it. It's just guys being dicks in an office.
Yeah, it becomes a bit more than that later, and the important bit is, honestly, it's some of the characters do change. The show's really more about, as it goes along, you realize it's actually more about Peggy than it is about almost anybody else in the show.
Is the
new girl in the first episode.
The new girl, okay. The one who has all the ideas everyone steals.
Yes.
Okay.
She actually goes through a fairly impressive rise throughout in advertising, especially considering that she's a woman in the '60s.
That's like I said, there's a lot to like about that show. I just can't get past fucking what's his name? Begins with the D.
Don Draper.
Draper, yeah. Draper, I just want to fucking just strangle and shove his head in a wood chipper.
Don Draper is simultaneously...
He's a magnificent bastard with too much emphasis on bastard.
Honestly, Don is a fascinating character as the show goes along. But yeah, I can definitely see why you'd say that. I think the show improves immensely once it hits season 2, in my opinion. But yeah, I can... Okay. But yeah, I'm waiting with bated breath for the last season of Breaking Bad, which is coming up fairly soon.
Yeah, I need to get caught up on that, which is a brilliant friggin' show.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a great show about, like... I love that. Walter White starts off as a sort of milquetoast, run-down, middle-aged guy who, in finding out that he's going to die from cancer, achieves an apotheosis into a fucking supervillain.
Yep.
And watching that transformation is just... If there's a terrible beauty to it that I can't look away from.
Yeah.
And then I do it. I go get a sandwich. I can break away from it for a while. The problem is when I watch Breaking Bad is it's several days gone because I will just marathon everything.
Right. Yeah. I'm waiting for that to come. I'm also waiting with bated breath for season 3 of Sherlock, which will be in November.
There's so many show. The Newsroom is a show that's coming up. It's an HBO show about a newsroom. That has a second season coming up soonish.
Yep, that's the most recent.
I really
Aaron,
like
it's the most...
Aaron Sorkin being a left-wing crazy man, and I'm a left-wing crazy man. So
yeah, I've not gotten around to watching. I've not gotten to watching Newsroom yet. Yeah. Of course, the 50th anniversary Doctor Who will be in November also, or October. I forget which. Which will be the second to last Matt Smith episode.
I've read all the books, and I think at this point I can honestly say I like the series better than the books, because this series cuts away a lot of the dross that Martin includes in his books.
Oh, you're talking about Game of Thrones. Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, I totally jumped the rail. HBO, blah, 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 Game of Thrones. Like, yeah. Like, that's another great series. The books are good, too, but I think this series is actually better.
You're one of the few people I've ever heard say that, and I'm glad to hear that, because I'm not a big fan of the books.
Part of it, a lot of it comes from the fact that the writers aren't afraid to cut away a lot of the dross in the books, because you don't need friggin' like 6 chapters on like Brienne walking through the woods. Just cut to the point where she finds the thing. And also just the acting is so top notch. Like, characters that I absolutely hated in the books and wanted to die horribly, I feel sympathy through in this series, purely through their portrayal by their actors. Cersei immediately leaps to mind. Like, I really wanted to throw Cersei into a wood chipper in the books at pretty much every time she did anything, because she had this terrible, in the book she has this terrible combination of haughtiness, condescension, I'm so smart but not nearly as smart as I think I am, and impulsiveness. It's just made me just despise her. Also, she's a sociopath.
Yes, she is.
But the actress, I can't remember her name, who portrays her in the series, does such a great job of showing this sort of underlying insecurity that, of being a woman in a friggin' medieval society you're gonna have, and that she always, it's just really suddenly, I care about Cersei.
Huh. I would not have thought that possible.
The same thing with Sansa, is a character that I until, strangely enough, in the later books, I found to be just a puppy to be kicked. The actress does just the opposite. Instead of portraying a vulnerability, portrays a real strength to her that I didn't pick up in the books. Which, again, yeah, I really like the series. I actually like it better than the books.
Interesting. I may have to give the series a shot then, because I've not watched it, because I've heard it's very true to the books, and I'm not a fan of the books.
It's all about the way the actors portray the characters, and they do cut away a lot with a lot of the dross, particularly in season 3.
So, I know for a fact they don't cut away the thing that I object most to in the books. So, fucking Daenerys. Oh. God, I hate everything that Martin does with her in the books.
Who?
Daenerys.
Oh, right.
Daenerys. Sorry, Daenerys.
She's... Yeah.
It's like, I understand.
I really want to like her.
It's not that she's a bad character or that she's badly written or anything like that. It's just that the majority of the plot that is most interesting is in the main is not where she is. And she's clearly going to have actual serious impact on the story later, which is why he's telling the story.
Get her fucking over there, yeah.
But it's like, why are we wasting all this time with her over there doing this? Get
her on a boat. Damn it, woman, get on a boat.
So it's like, yeah, I understand that a lot of this is actually important to her development of her as a character. I get that. I don't care, though. I really, really don't care. And it's like a third of the pages in the books, and there are a lot of pages.
Yeah.
It's not actually a third. It's less than that, but it's like, it might be 25%, though. It's like, oh God, no more.
There's a bit in the series, again going back to Sansa briefly, where where it's right before the big battle on the Blackwater, and Joffrey's sitting there preening in his armor and showing off, and she's like, "So you'll be leading the sortie out at the gates then?" Like, what? Well, that's what my brother would do, but my brother's a cowardly traitor, so obviously you'll be doing it, right? It was just a great bit of just totally hitting him where it hurts and doing it in such a way that he's not going to kick the puppy. And I was like, damn, girl, all right.
It's a nice passive-aggressive dig there. All right. Wow, it's like 8:10. We're running a bit long, and actually we don't have any questions this week, so...
Oh, that's okay.
So that's fortunate in some ways. We love getting questions, though. So if you... We'll be back next week, obviously. And we love getting questions. We love getting show topic suggestions. We love getting feedback. We love all that stuff. Criticisms. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing right. I mean, this is the stuff we need.
This is absolutely the stuff we need. Otherwise, it's going to hear us like talking in circles all night, which is exactly what we did tonight.
I mean, we love doing it. We're happy to do it, but we do like getting feedback and such. We want to make sure the show improves. Additionally, as I said, if you got questions you'd like answered on the show, if you got suggestions for show topics, send them in. We love getting them. We have you can either email them to us. Our email address is surlygrognards@yahoo.com, or you can send them. You can post them on our forums, which you can find at mechagm.forumer.com. There are sections there on the forums there for Surly Grognards. You can post questions there or feedback or what have you, or you can email us. Our email address. You can also hit me up on Twitter if you'd like. My Twitter handle is @mechagm. You can find me on Facebook and Google+, both places as Peter Bowman, and you can find recordings. You can find older recordings of the show or recordings of the RPGs and stuff on my blog, which you can find at mechagm.blogspot.com. We love getting any of that stuff at any of those places. Anything else, Eric, you can think of?
Send us things.
Yes, we like.
I don't mean actual physical things, but like show ideas, criticisms, praise, whatever.
Well, if you sending us things, I guess we'll take them. But I mean, as long as they're not like
as
long as they're good things.
It would be rude to turn down gifts.
Right, but good things, not like bombs. We don't want bombs.
At least not bombs intended to go off when we open them.
We don't want bombs. Don't send bombs to the mail. It's a bad idea. This is going to get someone in trouble, and we'd rather not have that happen.
Yeah, speaking of which, did you, this whole Justin Carter thing, the guy who ended up in jail for some shit he said over, like, on League of Legends and Facebook?
Oh, yeah, I heard some of that about that.
Like, I read what the kid said, it was like, and the fact that he's 19, I was like, seriously, the dude's 19. I say worse shit now, and I'm 34. Like seriously.
Yeah.
It's vaguely terrifying.
Yeah, there are a lot of things I could say about that, but we don't have time for that. I don't have the energy.
Yeah, no shit.
But yeah, thanks guys for watching. We will be back next week, as I said. Hopefully we'll have a actual topic, or otherwise we'll end up rambling about something or other. So we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Until then, keep on gaming, guys. Take care and good night. Say good night, Eric.
Good night, Eric.
Bye, everybody.